All right, so we're live. It's a little early, but we're here. All right. We're live over on Facebook. All right. All right. Who's with me this morning? Hi, Marissa. I can't tell who's on YouTube, but hi. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So we've got just a couple of minutes left. I don't want to get too involved in what I'm going to say until it's really time, because I know I'm a last minute person. You guys know that, right? If you've practiced with me. Again, when it's time, I get ready. I go, right? All right. So, Barbara, good morning, Barbara. Oh, sirens. Hopefully that will stop, because the dog will howl. Have you heard him howl? I put that on Facebook a while back. They just sing along to the sirens. It's great. That one there. See him over my shoulder. So it's kind of a gray day. Hopefully that will actually work out for my lighting. All right, guys. So I'm gonna talk for just a couple of minutes. I've been, as you guys know, like things that pop up in life, I just sort of try to bring them into what's going on in yoga. So like last week with posture, I sat in a car for 15 hours twice, right? So we talked about posture that next day. And I've been doing some studying and things like that. So I try to bring that into my teachings as well with you guys, and just sort of how things flow, right? Because any moment is an opportunity for yoga, right? And so if you're on my mailing list and you read the emails, of course, I've been talking about how do you practice when you're off your mat, right? And I got some really great responses, and you can do like a walking meditation, right? You don't have to sit down on a mat to practice yoga. These opportunities to practice the idea of yoga, not asana necessarily, right? I mean, if you all of a sudden break into tree when you're in the grocery store or something, people are going to look at you weird, but you still have an opportunity in the grocery store to practice yoga, right? So whether it's just simply extending compassion to someone, if like me, if you're short and you can't reach something on the top shelf, and someone very tall comes up and helps me, right? Without even necessarily being asked, right? That's an opportunity to practice compassion and all of these concepts that are what yoga is all about, right? Asana is great, but it's not everything, right? And you can get that idea simply practicing asana. So if those other things if meditation doesn't just happen for you, if it's just not something you can get into, pranayama, if you're not a chanter, I'm not a chanter. A lot of people are, and they say it's a wonderful thing. It's just not me. It doesn't what's the word? It's not coming to my brain right now. But it just doesn't fit for me. So find these places where the yoga bus that you got on your mat, where you can feel that in your life, right? And then you just walk around in this giant state of bliss all the time, right? Someday maybe, right? You still get grumpy. I still get grumpy, right? You still respond in ways that maybe you you think that better of after the fact kind of thing, right? That's life, right? But the more we get those little flashes of that yoga buzz, whether you've touched your mat in a week or not, you can still get that. So that is our main goal. And having said that, when you practice on your mat, if you're a very serious practitioner, right? Like when I'm on my mat, I'm no nonsense. I hear what the instructor is saying, but I'm not really responding to what's going on around me. I am on my mat, right? But if you are more playful, and I talk to you guys, so if it feels right for you, respond, right? So whatever your style of practice is, get that today. So if you're very serious, you can be super quiet. You can goof off a little bit here today. We're going to play a little bit. So you can take that more seriously or less, right? So make this good for you, regardless of what else is happening, right? So let me just check in with you guys, see what's going on. All right, guys. So let's come to the mat. We're going to sit. If you haven't already, of course. Karma wants to practice too. All right, so aligning the heels to the groin here. Take your inner thigh rotation, of course, so that you can feel upright on your pelvis. If sitting on a block is for you, sit on a block or a bolster or whatever it is that you have so the pelvis can be upright. We talked about our posture last week. It's so important all the time. I'll always talk about it, right? So if you need props, use props for sure. Okay? Lift your pelvic floor. Pull your lower belly in and up. Sit a little taller through your sides. And if it helps to use your arms without using your shoulders, right? Keeping the shoulders relaxed. Go ahead and close your eyes. And take a moment to focus inward. Notice what your body needs from you. This is the time if you like to set intentions for your practice or for your day. This is a good time to do that. And allow your awareness to move to your breath. Expanding. Eventually coming to that place that is just beyond comfortable. Make the breath a little bit of a stretch. Hopefully your mind has already sort of entered into that yoga place. So keep all of that. Keep that nice full breath, this beautiful tall posture, the inward focus. We'll go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides. And with an inhale, stretch them up toward the ceiling. Exhaling as you bring them back down again. Connected to your breath. We'll do it again. Once more. So you can open your eyes, or maybe not so much. We're going to make our way over onto hands and knees. Keeping the inward focus, nice full breaths here. Intentionally placing your wrists under your shoulders, making sure the four corners of the hands are engaged. And then once you're there, allow yourself to move in through cat-cow. So inhale the belly toward the floor. And then exhale, rounding your spine to the ceiling. Just a nice little in and out. And as you go, maybe working a little deeper into the spine.
Let's go once more in each direction. And then find a middle. So a nice neutral spine here. Walking the hands forward or the knees back, however you get there, making your way into kneeling plank. Still evenly grounded on your hands, that nice neutral spine here. Watch that the shoulders stay in line, your head is in line with the spine here, belly's working. And you can absolutely stay on your knees a little longer if that's where you want to be. Or lift the knees away from the floor and just simply hold plank. Extend through your heels. Extend out the crown of your head. Check in with your shoulders. Make sure your belly and your thighs and your glutes are engaged here. And then let's go ahead and lift the hips and make our way toward down dog. Let yourself wiggle, stretch. Play with it a little bit here. And then settling in. So really press into the floor with the hands. Make your arms work a little harder. Press the chest back so you get a little bit bigger stretch maybe on your shoulders or your hamstrings. And sink the heels toward the floor. Don't worry if they're touching or not. Right? Instead of sinking the heels, let's come up on the toes and we're going to drop the heels over to the left. But keep your right hand on the floor and your hips really high. We want to feel a nice stretch up the right side of the body. And then release it back to center again and switch, taking the heels to the right. Same idea, keep pressing the chest back. And then back to the middle again. Let's shift forward here, come to plank. Drop the knees if you want to drop the knees. We're going to bend the elbows tight to the sides and come on down to the belly. Hands next to the side ribs. If they didn't land, they're on their own. Sometimes they land too far forward, so just draw them back. Hug the elbows in. Nice little roll in through the shoulders, lifting into just a tiny little baby cobra. Squeeze your elbows, let your chest lead. Take another big breath. Releasing that. Pressing up and back. Let's go back to our down dog again. Same idea as before. Come up on the toes, drop the heels over to the left. Plant your right hand nice and firm for a moment. And then bring it to your hip and let your hips come down in line with the rest of the body. Find your standing pose. Belly in, shoulders stacked. That left knee can hit the floor if you need that. We're going to hold one more breath. And then release back to down dog. Ready for side B? Ready or not? Come up on the toes, drop the heels to the right. Let your hips come down. Make your way into that side plank, modifying if you need to modify, absolutely. And then we're going to move in back to our down dog again. Shifting forward, come to plank. Knees if you'd like knees. Head in line with the spine. Everything hits the floor together. Hands next to those side ribs again. Rolling into the shoulders, maybe this time adding a little bit more, coming up a little higher, pulling with the hands so you've got tons of space in your lower back. And then releasing back down. Keeping those elbows in as you make your way up and back, down dog. So in this down dog, we're going to bend the right knee just to kind of bring it closer to the body. It's a little bit easier to find here. Plant your right hand nice and firm. If you're a little sweaty or if you find that your hand isn't in the right place, make it right because that's part of your foundation. Take the left hand to the outside of the right leg.
wherever you can reach. Maybe your ankle. And then if you take your leg a little straighter, you get a little stretch, maybe getting pulled underneath the right arm-ish. And then releasing that. Same idea on our second side here. So bend the left knee, bring the leg closer. Make sure your left hand is happy with where it is. You don't want it sliding out from underneath you here. Right hand to the outside of the leg, wherever you grab over here, and then maybe the leg is straighter. We'll release. Drop on down to the knees, sitting back in child's pose. Remember to modify if you need to modify at any point. How we doing? Morning, Aunt Mary. So coming back to your down dog. Let's go ahead and step the right foot forward, coming into a lunge. Working your toes to your fingers. Make sure you've got that knee-ankle alignment. Dropping the back knee to the floor. Let's take the right leg straight or straightish. Remember, you can prop if you need to prop. Come up on the shin maybe, or even the thigh if that's where you are. You could even be leaning on a chair or something here, right? Do what you need to do for yourself here. We're going to bend back into the knee. Let the hips shift forward. So keeping the hips really square. Feel the difference in just kind of letting them go and keeping them aligned. Let the chest lead. And then, of course, you have the option of leaving the left knee on the floor. If you want a little bit bigger stretch, maybe this time take the left knee away from the mat and then the right leg straight again. So find a stretch. And remember, if you try this and it's too much, you drop the back knee again, or you find your prop. Bending back into the knee. Press through the back heel. Make that leg as strong as you can. Keeping the hips nice and square, same idea. The back knee can be on the floor if it needs to be. We're going to climb up on the thigh. Lifting the upper body. Hang on if you need to hang on. You can extend the arms if you want to extend the arms. You can still be propping here. Your props are high enough, right? And then we're going to release that, come back to lunge, and we'll step back to down dog. So same idea on our second side here. Step the left foot forward. Toes all the way up to the fingers. That right knee is on the floor to begin at least. When you're all set and ready, take the left leg straight. Straight-ish, propped or not. Hips are square, shoulders are down and back. And then bending back into the knee, letting the hips descend. And as you feel that chest kind of lift away, you feel a deeper stretch, right? So you add as much of that or not as it takes. And again here, you decide right knee on the floor or away from the mat as we take the left leg straight again. So finding the stretch that's right for you, paying attention to the shoulders on the back. And once again, bending into the knee. Right knee on the mat or away. Legs sweep toward each other, even as that right heel extends back.
Coming up on the thigh, if and when you're ready, lifting the chest. And so the action comes from lifting the torso rather than worrying about where the arms are. But if the arms reach, they reach. Take one more breath here. And then release the hands.
Stepping back to our down dog. Once again here, sliding forward into a plank. Taking these if you want, let's drop it down. And then the hands next to the sides as we roll into our shoulders. Little pull, little press if you're moving deeper. Listen to your body. And then we're going to release that. Up and back, down dog. We'll drop on down to the knees. Sitting back into a child's pose for just a couple breaths. And then back to down dog again. Walking the feet forward, let's come to standing fold. Placing the feet very intentionally up under the hips, making sure your toes point forward. Finding the four corners of your feet. And then if they're not already, slide your hands up to your thighs and bring the upper body parallel to the floor. So notice that the weight is still even in your feet. Hips are over the ankles. Your belly's working. Lead with the hands. Let them help if they need to help. And then we'll bend into the knees and find chair. So find that nice tall aligned spine, being even on your feet. Watch that the knees are in line with your hips and ankles. Hang on, come center, extend, whatever makes you happy with your arms. We're going to take one more breath. And then inhale, stretch to the ceiling. Exhaling, release the arms. So, taking the hands, and you've got some options here if it's early, of course, and if you need a little bit of support with hands on either side of your lower back, take that, right? You can interlace your fingers behind your back if that's you here. We can change our arms in the middle. So let's just start here. Nice and even on your feet. Keep your hips over your ankles. Little tuck of the tailbone, nothing extreme. We don't want to shove the pelvis forward, right? So just a little bit of length in that lower back. Hug the elbows. Hug the shoulder blades together on your back. So again, here you're leading with your chest. And imagine leading up toward the ceiling. Find space and length, and then you open up into this little back bend. And again here, if you need the support, you leave the hands exactly where they are. You can interlace your fingers, like I said, changing your mind at any point, and making it harder or making it easier. So we don't want to point the chin at the ceiling. We want to kind of tuck it in toward the throat a little bit. Keeping the length through the back of the neck as well. Take one more breath here. On an inhale, we're going to make our way back up. And then release the arms. So standing tall here, take the hands to the thighs and come over into that half fold again. Take your time. You want to transition from a back bend into a forward fold, but not slam your body back and forth. Nice and easy, go ahead and take it over into whatever your full fold looks like. And then let's bring the feet together. So it can be really awkward unless you practice Ashtanga yoga. This is how they stand. You put their feet together in mountain anyway. We're going to bend back into the knees and come back into chair pose.
So make sure you're hugging your legs together, even if they're not already touching, right? So squeeze in really firmly here. Belly's working, spine is long. Easier variation is to just bring that right hand to the outside of the left knee, right? And maybe the left hand to the hip. And you can kind of pull against the knee and rotate around into this nice, sweet little twist. If you want a little bit more intensity, taking the right elbow to the outside of the left knee and then working around. So as we twist, the knees like to do weird things, and one will pop forward. Your hips might shift over to one side or the other. Keep that steady. The twist is just extra, not instead of. Take another big breath. And then release the twist. Take your legs straight. Or straighter. And we're going to go to the second side. So back to chair. Squeeze the legs together. That'll help keep them where you want them. And then you decide, left hand to the outside of the knee, right hand to the hip, or left elbow. You decide. So make it as deep as you like. Make sure you can breathe, feeling even on your legs. And then release what you got here. Back to that fold. So from here, let's go ahead and step back with the right foot into lunge. And then take the hands and walk them around into the center of the straddle. So you decide how wide this is. Make sure your toes are pointing forward. You want to feel even on the four corners of your feet so we don't roll in or out on the ankle. And then just let yourself hang. So if you want a little bend in the knees, have a little bend. Let your upper body be loose, relaxed, maybe grabbing opposite elbow. And then here, if you need, bending at the knees, we're going to take the index and middle fingers, wrap them around the big toes. Try and keep the feet nice and even on the floor. Bend the elbows out to the sides, and then maybe even pull on the toes. And think drawing your belly button between your legs. Release your toes. And take the fingers to interlace behind the lower back again here. Shoulders draw toward each other, just like when we were standing up, yeah? Knuckles reach away, maybe up off of your lower back, maybe not. Keeping a gentle bend in the elbows and really just focusing on what the shoulders are doing. And then release the hands back to the floor. So even if you have a deeper fold, we're going to have the hands, or the arms really, straight to the floor underneath the shoulders. So this may not be a deep fold for you at all, maybe. So the feet are still nice and even on the floor, and the body weight is going to stay centered. So if you feel the weird shift in the hips, make sure you stay to the middle. Bring the right hand into the center, kind of underneath your face. Bring the left hand to your hip. And then begin to rotate your belly around to the left. Extending out through the crown of your head, staying level in your hips here. And then gently releasing. So the same idea to your second side, the left hand in the center and the right hand to the hip. Watching as the upper body rotates around.
Releasing that side. We're going to take the hands flat to the floor. Right, so if you need to bend into your knees, bend into your knees, not an issue. So with the hands as flat to the floor as they can, walk them back so that the tips of your fingers line up with the tips of your toes. Your hands are going to be shoulder distance apart. And again, this is ideal. If it's not quite there, don't panic. Rounding into the four corners of the hands as much as you can. Push into your hands like crazy, and your elbows can be bent or straight, doesn't necessarily matter. Push into the floor like crazy. Pull your belly button in toward your spine, and in your head anyway, lean into your hands enough that you feel like you could lift your feet away from the floor. And if you can, go, of course, but yeah. And then release that pressure in your hands. So bring the hands up to your hips. You can support on the thighs if that feels like a better place for you. Elbows back and pointing up toward the ceiling. We're going to come halfway up, so bringing your body parallel to the floor again. Again here, if you need to lean, you're leaning, right? On the next inhale, bring yourself all the way up. And we're going to transition our feet. So pull your right toes in a little bit. Turn your left toes toward the top of the mat. We're going to move into warrior two from here. So bending into that left knee, look for your big toe. And you take your feet wider or more narrow as the body needs, right? Keeping the hips level, let's extend the arms if and when you're ready. Feeling strong and steady and even into your legs. We'll take one more breath here. And then take the left leg straight-ish. You don't want to lock the knee, of course. Stretch forward over your left toes, creating space on the left side, and then let that hand fall and the right hand lift toward the ceiling. So if you need to be leaning on the leg with the hand, you lean, but if you don't, you don't. Make sure your belly is engaged, supporting your back. And then we'll release it. Come over to lunge. So you can always drop the back knee, right, if that's where you need to be here. Let's see about taking the left leg straight again. You can always add on to this, right? Maybe flipping the left toes up toward the ceiling. You can leave the foot flat and just walk your hands back. And then making sure you're steady. So ideally here, the right hand is to the inside of the right foot, maybe propped up on a block, right? The right knee can be on the floor if it needs to be on the floor. Sweep your legs toward each other. Bring the left hand to the hip and start to rotate around into a twist here. Take your time, prop if you need to prop. Drop the back knee if you're not feeling stable enough. We're going to take one more breath here. And then release. Go ahead and bend into your left knee. And if you haven't already, drop your right. So your back toes can stay tucked under. The foot can come flat to the floor back there, whatever makes you happier. But we're going to start to inch the left foot forward. And you're going to keep inching until that's it. Yeah. So you go where your body goes. If you can, lift your chest. Coming more upright with the upper body. Soft bend into this left knee. It's really easy to hyperextend here. Take one more breath. And then you got to wiggle on out of that. It's just not pretty, no matter who you are, right? So messing up your mat, Getting toe cramps. We'll step ourselves back into a down dog once you're there.
Give it a little wiggle, a little shake. It's really easy to get stuck a little bit there, right?
How we doing? All right, guys. So then from here, we'll take the right foot stepping forward.
Working your toes to your fingers, we can always adjust as we go here, of course. Drop the back heel.
Lift the upper body, and we're working toward our warrior two again. So taking the feet where they need to be so that they're aligned. You can see your big toe, right? Hips are level. Arms extending if that's you. Remember, whatever is furthest away from the floor is least important. So you've got a shoulder thing going on today. The arms stay maybe down by your sides or at your hips or whatever. We'll take the right leg straight, reach forward, and hinge over. Leaning if you need to lean. And then releasing over into lunge.
So of course you're up on the back toes or down on the back knee. Either one is totally fine. Taking the right leg straight. Propping if you need to prop. Making it more or less challenging for you. And then bending back into the knee. No, I forgot to twist. Sorry. Right leg straight. So again, ideally, this left hand is to the inside of the foot on a block, maybe right hand to the hip, and we're going to twist around to the right. Watch that your lower body stays stable. So if the hips are leaning all over the place, it'll be hard to stay upright. Yeah? Like through your spine here. And then releasing the twist. Now bending back into the knee again. Dropping the left knee. And then walking the right foot forward. Same idea, see where it goes. It doesn't have to be to a specific place. Even if it's radically different from your other side, that's normal. To be perfectly symmetrical is the unusual thing. And even if it's just in your sensation. So finding where that is, lifting the chest a little bit more here to increase sensation if you still need it in this place. And then let's gently walk that foot back in, or as gently as you can, of course. And we'll make our way back into down dog again.
This time here, go ahead and drop on down to the knees. Set yourself back into child's pose. Give yourself a little extra break.
We'll come back up into down dog.
And we'll step the left foot forward into lunge again.
Take the hands around into the center of your straddle. And in this straddle here, we're going to see about taking the feet wider. So we want to keep the toes pointing at forward, right? At the long edge of the mat, I guess, right?
And we want to stay even on the four corners of the feet, unless you're going to come all the way down to the floor. So that's probably not many of us. But if it's you, right? So walk your feet an extra step wider. Kind of check in, make sure you're not hyperextending your knees, your hips are in line with your ankles. If that's all good, see if you can take a step wider. And then you kind of check in and go, yes or no, right? And if you can go wider, you go wider. When you need to stop, you stop. You come in if you need to come in. Feel the muscles stretch. Don't worry about how close to the floor you are. Take one more breath. And then work them back in. Bring them in so that they are just wider than your shoulders. And you can adjust a little bit in or out. When you're there, let's bend into the knees. And then take your hands between your feet. And you can bend or have the legs as straight as you want, completely up to you. And again, if your feet are a little too close or a little too far away, you just adjust, right? So if that's all good, see if you can take your hands back behind your heels. Maybe that's good. Right? And then if it sounds like fun, bending and or straightening or whatever you got to do, see if you can take your hands over the tops of your feet. Again, wider or more narrow, whatever you got to do. The hips can stay high or come low. You want your toes striking in the same direction as your knees, so if they need to turn out or turn forward a little bit, you make those adjustments, right? Let's gently release that. Go ahead and turn toward the top of your mat and step yourself back into a child's pose. And we're not quite done with that idea, right? That position that we were just in. We're going to play with that a little bit more, maybe adding in and getting a little bit deeper, maybe doing some fun stuff. So let's see. Come up to hands and knees, and then step those feet just say outside of the wrists or so. And again, if that's too wide, you bring it a little closer. If it's too narrow, you open it up. Okay. So we're going to work with just one side here for a second. So like we brought both hands between the feet, just take your right hand kind of to the inside of your right foot. And then maybe you can work it behind the foot. And this time we're not so concerned about where the hand goes. We're going to see if we can get our shoulder a little deeper. So your right shoulder and right knee are pretty close together at this point. See if you can wiggle and shift and adjust and bend and straighten, whatever you got to do to see if this shoulder will either come closer to the inside of the knee or maybe even kind of work, in your head anyway, behind the knee. So wiggle, right? See where your knee is in relation, or your shoulder is in relationship to your knee. And if it's someplace unusual, that's a win. Right? So we're going to release that. Bounce, straighten the knees, shift the hips, whatever feels good here for a second. And then let's work our second side. So that left hand just to the inside of the foot. If that's a big accomplishment, then hang out there, play, wiggle, shift, whatever feels good. Hand behind the heel, maybe that's enough. Noticing where the shoulder is as much as where that hand ends up. And then seeing if you can sort of wiggle the shoulder behind the knee. And just check it out. What's going on over there? Release all that. Let's step back into a down dog. And then drop on down into child's pose. Just taking a little break here.
So how are we feeling about that? All right. Good. So let's see about taking that a step further. Remember that if you are in one place and that's where you want to work and you don't want to add all the craziness, then don't, right? You're at home, no one's watching. So come to hands and knees and then step the feet up behind the wrists, roughly. Yeah. So kind of combining those two places where we just were is where we're going to go, right? So hands between the feet. Maybe hands back behind the heels. Maybe just working into getting those shoulders more behind the knees and wiggle and maneuver. And I kind of pull against the backs of my calves to get in there a little bit more. And then see if you can take the hand flat to the floor behind the heel with your thumb and forefinger kind of cradling the heel. Does that make sense? Maybe. Does any of this make sense? Are you having fun? If the hand is flat to the floor, bend into your knees. And just like we did before, the more you start leaning your weight into your hands, the less you need into your feet. You feel it? If you walk your feet together, you might feel it more. And then maybe the feet don't even need to be on the floor. And you may fall down onto your butt. So you can balance as long as you want to balance. And if you haven't already, go ahead and take your butt to the floor. Let's stretch the legs out long. We're going to roll into our wrists. Because that's a lot of body weight on the wrist, right? Make fists. And then wide hands. Fists. Wide hands. Do that just a couple more times. And then wide hands and shake them out. So the feet flat to the floor here. Go ahead and hang on to your hamstrings. C-curve your spine and roll on down to your back. You don't have to turn around, but just knees into the chest here. You can rock up and down your spine or maybe side to side. We'll take the feet flat to the floor. Work at finding a neutral spine here. So you want to be even across your hips and shoulders, neutral curves in your spine. And then from there, take the right leg straight up toward the ceiling. Reaching back behind the right thigh. Use a strap if you want to use a strap. You can reach up for the back of the calf or your big toe, as long as that doesn't draw your shoulders away from the mat. Right? So keeping the shoulders back is more important than where the hands go. And on an exhale, pull the leg a little closer to your body. With the inhale, let it go a little bit. So just this gentle little in and out. And as much as possible, leave your hips, lower back, and shoulders especially, just where they were when both feet were on the floor, ideally. So we're going to keep that going as we take the left leg down toward the bottom of the mat and make that left leg straight and strong as if you were standing on it, right leg in and out.
And your right leg may not come as far in now because the pelvis can't roll up as easily, which is not a bad thing at all. Find a center and extend the left arm out to the left. We want to glue the left side of the body to the floor so that the rest of your body stays exactly as it is. Support the outside of the leg with your right hand and start to let that leg fall out to the right. Ideally, heel in line with the hip. Hang on to the leg, let it fall into your hand over there. When your left hip starts to lift, stop. Find that middle ground again. Let's take another big breath. And then we'll bring the leg back to center. We're going to take it just enough to the left to feel a nice stretch in the outside of the right leg, right? Keeping that right hip on the floor for just a moment. And then allow that foot to come all the way over to the left. So maybe into your hand, maybe not. Maybe the legs can't stay straight. That's totally fine. Right arm extending out to the right. And of course, that left foot has fallen to the side of the foot has fallen to the floor, correct? See if you can make that left leg straight and strong as if you were standing on it here. Maybe yes, maybe no. Again, it can be bent if it needs to be bent. We'll take another big breath. Of course, bending the right knee if you feel like you need to do that. We're going to come back to center. Release the right leg. You may need to shift or wiggle a little bit to keep the alignment of the body. And then let's take the feet flat to the floor again. And we'll do the exact same thing on the second side. So set your spine first, and then extend the left leg. Reaching behind, using your strap, whatever you got to do here, and just that little bit of in and out. Again, here working to keep the back side as neutral as possible. Keeping that going as we take the right leg straight. Finding that kind of neutral position for the leg, extending the right arm out to the right, keeping the heel in line with the hip as much as possible as we let that leg fall out to the left. Keeping the rest of the body doing exactly what it was doing. Let's come back up to the middle. And again here, for right now, leave the left hip on the floor. Let the leg come across the body just enough to feel that nice little stretch in the outside. And then take the leg all the way over to the right. Wherever all the way over is, it might not be the floor, the knee might have to bend, both knees might have to bend. Let's take another big breath here. And then gently make your way back to the middle, bending at the knee if you need. Release the left leg. Realigning the spine if you got a little crooked there. And then pulling the knees or the feet flat to the floor again, and then knees into the chest. Let yourself rock. Squeezing the knees in as tight to the chest as you can get. Pull your forehead toward your knees and hug yourself into this tiny little ball. Release it into a full body stretch, fingertips to toes. And then release your stretch. Let your arms come back down by your sides and adjust if you need to adjust. Make sure the body feels aligned. Your arms and your legs feel equally long. And then rest the muscles. Let them feel heavy into the mat. Heavy and supported. So you can completely relax here. If you need a seated meditation position, that's fine as well. Prop if you need to prop, of course. Focusing solely on the breath again here, without necessarily controlling it. Allowing the mind to stay quiet and present. And as relaxed as your body is here.
Slowly draw in a deep, cleansing breath. And then let it all go. Allow your body to begin to wiggle, move, stretch. Keeping your eyes closed, your mind quiet. As you slowly make your way back up to seated. Bringing the palms to touch. Bowing your head to your heart. From my heart to yours. Namaste. Yay. I hope you guys could hear the breeze in the bamboo. It was so beautiful, and I was wondering how long I was sitting there. So, have a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you had some fun, even if you didn't get say into the deepest expression of whatever the pose was. It's still a good time, right? So have a great weekend. If I don't see you, I will hopefully see you next week. All right, you guys. Bye. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks. Thanks for the love, guys. Oh, Colleen. Bye.